This man suddenly time-traveled in the past, specifically in 1960s. The story begins with a man named Harry recounting a haunting memory from his youth. On Halloween night in 1960, his father murdered his mother and siblings. After finishing, the adult education instructor, Jake, along with his students, are captivated. Jake even compliments the story and gives Harry high marks. Later that day, Jake heads to a local diner where the owner, Al, casually asks about his day. Their conversation is cut short when Jake's ex-wife, Alice, shows up with divorce papers. While Jake and Alice are occupied with signing the documents, Al slips into a back room, acting oddly. When Alice leaves, Al reappears, looking unusually pale, leaving Jake confused. Al deflects Jake's questions and simply asks him to return the next day. The following day, Al offers a strange explanation. He leads Jake to a closet and claims it can transport someone to another time. Though skeptical, Jake steps through and finds himself in a completely different setting. There, a man warns Jake that he doesn't belong. Jake retreats back. Shaken, Al explains that the closet is a portal to 1960, a place he had secretly been spending time, 3 years in the past, equating to just 2 minutes in the present. Al reveals his purpose. He wants Jake to go back and prevent JFK's assassination, a task Al couldn't finish. Jake is doubtful, but Al insists the world would be better had JFK lived. Al shows Jake research he's compiled over the years, names, locations, events, all connected to the assassination. He also gives Jake a betting book to help him earn money in the past. Jake is hesitant and says he needs time to decide. Disappointed, Al tells him to leave. That night, Jake struggles to sleep. The next morning, he returns to find Al has died from cancer, likely worsened by his time in the past. Determined to fulfill Al's wish, Jake steps through the portal and follows Al's instructions to get a car, find lodging, and place a winning bet, quickly making enemies as a result. Following an attempt on his life, Jake flees to Texas to investigate a man named George, whom Al suspected was linked to Lee Harvey Oswald. While surveying the area where JFK is scheduled to appear, Jake meets a woman named Sadie. They bond over a shared love of books. Jake later gets his own apartment. One night, while trying to contact his father, he's caught in a violent encounter, seemingly confirming Al's warning that the past resists change. Jake tracks George to an event featuring JFK. He bluffs his way into a VIP section and gets caught by the Secret Service, raising further suspicion. Continuing his surveillance, Jake discovers George may be working for the CIA and could have recruited Oswald. One night, Jake finds his apartment in flames. Though most of Al's research and betting records are damaged, he salvages enough to continue. Instead of returning through the portal, Jake decides to change something smaller, saving Harry's family from their fate. He tracks down the town and befriends locals, including a bartender named Bill. When Frank, Harry's father, hears Jake has been asking questions, he becomes hostile. Jake tries to prevent the massacre by giving Harry's mom and siblings tickets to a Halloween party, but Frank finds out and beats both his wife and Jake. Jake purchases a gun and makes a plan for Halloween night. As Frank arrives, Bill, who has his own vendetta against Frank, appears and nearly ruins the plan. Jake tells Bill he's from the future and knows Frank will commit murder that night. Ultimately, Jake kills Frank and flees. Soon after, Bill shows Jake a front-page story about the upcoming JFK assassination. He had found Jake's notes. Jake explains everything and asks for Bill's help in stopping the assassination. They move to Texas, posing as brothers. Jake becomes a teacher in a nearby town while renting a home next to where Lee Harvey Oswald will live. They bug Oswald's house to listen in. George makes occasional visits, and over time, they realize George is encouraging Oswald to target a General Walker. Jake reconnects with Sadie at the school. They grow close, but Sadie senses Jake is hiding something. Her estranged husband, Johnny, reappears and refuses to sign divorce papers. Jake confronts Johnny, using Sadie's suggestion to mock and humiliate him. Meanwhile, Bill grows attached to Marina, Lee's wife. He wants to intervene when Lee abuses her, but Jake warns against interference. The night Oswald is expected to attempt to shoot Walker, Jake is distracted. Johnny has gone to Sadie's house for revenge. Johnny attacks Sadie and forces Jake to drink bleach. Some students arrive unexpectedly, giving Jake the chance to fight back and save Sadie. Sadie is hospitalized. Bill, meanwhile, has a direct encounter with Oswald and receives a book from him. Bill arrives late to Walker's house and misses identifying the shooter. Jake is disappointed. Marina leaves Lee, moving in with a friend. Lee continues to visit and becomes suspicious of the FBI's involvement. He takes a job at the book depository. Jake realizes this is the planned location of JFK's assassination. Jake returns to find Bill too close to Lee's family, even kissing Marina. Worse, Lee finds one of the bugs, though he blames the FBI. Jake and Bill argue violently. Bill threatens Jake with a gun and tells him to leave. Jake focuses on caring for Sadie, who is about to undergo surgery. At the hospital, he sees the same strange man from the portal. Sensing danger, Jake intervenes and prevents Sadie's death. Later, Jake discovers Bill and Lee practicing shooting together. The thought of a second shooter unnerves him. Jake commits Bill to a psychiatric hospital and confronts George, who denies any knowledge of the assassination plan. Jake decides Lee acted alone and prepares to stop him. Before he can act, someone who lost money on Jake and Bill's identical bets assaults Jake, leaving him with a head injury and memory loss. Jake eventually recalls the mission and contacts Bill, but it's too late. Bill jumps out of a window. Jake regains his memory just in time, and with Sadie's help, tracks Lee again. He holds off on killing Lee due to the baby being present. Sadie insists on helping him. Lee files a complaint against the FBI, but is ignored. Jake and Sadie attempt to intercept Lee's gun, but fail. They decide to intervene on the day of the shooting instead. That night, Jake sees the mysterious man again. He warns Jake that changing the past leads to a loop he'll never escape. Jake confesses to Sadie that he's afraid and unsure if they should proceed at all. Despite Jake's doubts, the next morning he and Sadie head to Daly Plaza, determined to stop the assassination. They hit traffic and end up ditching the car, running through the streets as the clock ticks down. They finally reach the book depository. Jake races upstairs while Sadie stays behind to watch for any surprises. Jake makes it to the 6th floor just in time to see Lee aiming his rifle at JFK's motorcade. They struggle, Jake tackles him, and the gun goes off, shattering a window. During the scuffle, Sadie arrives to help but gets caught in the crossfire. Lee fatally wounds her before Jake kills him. The motorcade escapes unharmed. Jake saved the president, but at a terrible cost. Sadie dies in his arms. Heartbroken, Jake returns to the present through the portal. But something feels wrong. The world he returns to is bleak, ravaged by war, destruction, and unrest. JFK's survival triggered a chain reaction that led to global instability. Jake realizes Al was right. The past doesn't want to be changed. Worse, every time you do, it breaks something. He decides to undo everything. Jake goes back once more and resets the timeline, returning to the moment he first stepped into 1960. This time, he walks away from the mission entirely, letting history take its course. Before leaving for good, he visits the older Sadie in the present, alive and well, living a peaceful life. She doesn't recognize him, but there's a glimmer of familiarity in her eyes. They share a quiet dance, one final, bittersweet moment before Jake lets her go. As the music fades, so does Jake. Back to his normal life, a man who tried to change history and learned why he shouldn't. November 22, 63 is a tense, well-crafted miniseries that blends time travel with historical drama. James Franco delivers a solid performance as a man trying to stop JFK's assassination. But the real strength lies in the show's emotional depth and moral dilemmas. While some side plots feel underdeveloped, the series overall is gripping and thought-provoking. It's a smart take on the dangers of changing the past and whether we ever should.